Some people's minds are more capable. They can see more, they can feel more, they can know more. What you have is precious. We need to carefully develop your potential.
Am I losing my mind, Dad?
No. Well, yes and no.
Welcome to Cordkillers!
Welcome to Cordkillers, the show about watching the stuff you love, when you want, where you want, however you want. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey man, I'm Brian Brushwood, and that was a preview from a new Amazon Prime original called Undone that has a look that reminds me of a Scanner Darkly. It's got this kind of rotoscope looking thing. You've got Bob Odenkirk looking like Bob Odenkirk. What else should we know about this, Bryce?
It also stars Rosa Salazar. She gets into a car accident and develops the ability to this says she has a new relationship to time, so we'll see. But it's a very
it's complicated,
surreal, animated sort of look. It looks very cool.
Yeah, a new relationship to time makes me feel like a Slaughterhouse 5 kind of vibe, where sort of memory as an allegory to jump forward and backward in time and
peeking through time, but not necessarily traveling.
Not
she broke up with time, but they
yeah.
still see each other sometimes.
I tell you who we love all the time is Nicole Lee of Engadget.com. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, happy to be here.
Yes, Nicole, welcome back. Always a pleasure. We're glad you can visit with us today because we have some good stuff to talk about, including which TV you should watch Netflix on. But let's start with our primary target. Well, okay, we've all probably been wondering why Avengers Endgame didn't have a digital release yet. I'm sure there's some folks in the audience who've been wanting to buy it, or at least maybe even rent it just so they can watch it again. Turns out the reason we didn't get a digital or a Blu-ray release is because it has a new theater run. Same movie, no changes to the actual movie, but Kevin Feige told Screen Rant, quote, "If you stay and watch the movie, after the credits, there'll be a deleted scene, a little tribute, and a few surprises." Now, the interview said June 28th, so it looks like this coming Friday, maybe even Thursday evening, you'll be able to find it. The run of the current movie ends June 27th. Turns out in Fandango, in my locality, I cannot find any listings for Endgame after June 27th. Apparently, Cineworld over in the UK said it would have tickets going on sale Tuesday at 6 p.m. So I guess they're going to do a big release of the tickets later this week and then make it available. But, Screen Rant has Feige on record saying it's going to happen. So I assume it's going to happen. This would likely push Endgame's box office revenues above Avatar's record. Some people suspect that's one of the reasons they're doing this. And the digital and Blu-ray release is now expected to be, although we haven't got official word from Marvel yet, but it's expected to be August 13th or August 20th.
I don't, to my surprise, mind that they're doing this at all. And I think this will look like a naked cash grab, which it probably is, to younger generations. But re-releasing movies was something that happened all the time, man. It's like a movie would come out in the spring, and then it'd be all like, "Did you enjoy Gremlins? Watch it during Christmas time. It's back." It is a very strong testament to just how soft this entire year has been for box offices. So it's like there was this brief moment that we thought, okay, Endgame is the exception to the rule. They're knocking it out of the park. They're making all the money. In no just universe should Avatar have made more globally than Endgame. Endgame is the culmination of a 22 movie arc, one of the most ambitious cross-promotional tie-ins of all times or whatever. Avatar was in 3D. And was a pretty by-the-numbers story that did not deserve to be the number one grossing movie of all time. However, Avatar was at a different time when tastes of audiences were hungry for new technology and we were giddy for the novelty of doing all this stuff. I want to point out something. It's not even necessarily to disagree with you, but prequels, sequels never set records. That's just, I mean, Star Wars has been one of the exceptions, but even Star Wars doesn't beat its own record set for when you account for inflation. So if you had told me 10 years ago,
oh, the obvious winner for a new box office record will be this 20-second movie in a series, an extended universe, I would have said there's no effing way they can keep people interested that long. So from another perspective, this is a testament to just how exceptional the Marvel Cinematic Universe is.
Sure. I guess what I'm saying is for the amount of tie-ins, crossovers, and epic storytelling that they managed to pull off with the MCU. And by the way, in my heart of hearts, I understand that theoretically the new Spider-Man is the end of this phase or whatever. As far as I'm done, all of the MCU is finished. Like in my mind, like this is the end of a chapter. Whatever happens forward from here, it's all Toy Story 4 as far as I could see. Like I'll be happy if it's good, have no expectation that any of it will be. With that in mind, it is remarkable to me that Endgame didn't crush Avatar, and it seems right in a weird way that they would go for a second bite of the apple, because it is the type of movie that deserves a second viewing, and I happen to watch it 2 or 3 times in the movie theater, but most people haven't, and this is a pretty good excuse to visit it one last time in the movie theater before it goes to digital and small screens, and while you're there, sure, give us 20 or 30 minutes of crazy previews of what's to come and Easter eggs at the end of it.
Yeah, I think this is smart. I think it's less about beating Avatar, although I'm sure they don't mind that because they're going to get good press. But it's more about, hey, there's so much demand for this movie because it's the end of a 22 movie cinematic arc that we think we can make some more money. And gosh, everyone was a little disappointed that there wasn't a post-credit sequence. What if we use that as a way to put in something new? Nicole, I'm curious if you are interested in seeing it again in the theater to see this new content or not, and if you think most other people will be.
Well, I think like many people, I think Avengers Endgame was one of those movies that people would tend to want to watch more than once, right? So I think if you had only watched it once, or maybe cuts a couple of times, and you're one of those people that just wants to just watch it as many times as you want, as you can in the theater before it goes away, then I think this is a great opportunity for it. I do think there is a little bit of that naked cash grab ick factor, quote unquote, to it. At the same time, though, like I can't blame them for wanting to go for it. Like this is obviously the kind of movie that you would totally go and see again. I don't think it. I think would people pay money to go see it again? Yes. Would people pay to go see it just for that like last 30 minutes or whatever? Maybe. I feel like people would go see the movie because they like the movie.
I think you bring up a really good point. I think what people are looking for, I think what they recognize is that there's some segment of people who are just looking for an excuse to visit it in the big screen one last time before it goes away.
Yeah.
Now, in the case of Deadpool, they did a whole second release with a remix whole thing. I'm glad they didn't do a remix thing, and I think it's fine. You know, promise me something extra after the credits. To be honest, I'm surprised. Maybe they should have promised a little 5 minutes before the movie of like a Pixar standalone segment. I think
right.
I think that would have
buy the ticket. Once we have your money and you're in your seat, we'll show you the cool stuff. If you leave after that, that's fine.
No. I would say both is what I mean. Like give me a little 5-minute standalone. Give me a standalone Ant-Man and the Wasp argue about ice cream 5-minute skit that and have that be the opening, then show me Endgame, right? Then at the end show me all the bonus stuff.
Would you have preferred it if it was like a quote unquote director's cut or something?
No.
Or do you no okay.
Yeah. I think that would undercut the idea that Endgame was anything less than perfection to wrap everything up. And while, you know, we aired some quibbles about, you know, a scene here or there, it largely was for that big of a project. You know, all of those quibbles were rounding errors. It was pretty much perfect.
Let's talk a little bit about what we think this is going to be. I have an inside source who thinks they know what the deleted scene might be. The tribute, everything I've seen points to possibly a Stan Lee tribute. And the surprises, I got no clues on.
Oh, man.
I'll tell you while you think about that. The deleted scene that someone told me they thought It was, a source at a place told a friend of mine to friend. So, take that for what it's worth. But the theory was they shot a scene where after Tony, and spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Endgame, you'll not want to hear what I say next. But after Tony snaps,
oh my God,
he sees
Tom,
Morgan.
the movie's not even out in theaters yet, and you're already talking about the finale? What are you doing?
Stop. You're just infuriating everyone. After he snaps, he sees Morgan, his daughter, the way that Thanos saw Gamora.
Oh, that would be clear.
And there's a little conversation.
Oh, wild.
But it's future Morgan, not like with Gamora where it was past Gamora.
I mean, if you want surprises, here's what I hope the surprise is. I hope the surprise is that they show us the deleted scene from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse where, spoiler alert, there was one scene that was cut that was apparently got one of the biggest laughs of the entire movie, but they cut it because it undercut the emotional flow at the moment. That moment, again, spoilers for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, when all the Spider-Men say like, that's what it was with my Uncle Benjamin. You're like, oh, my Uncle Ben died. For me, it was so-and-so. And then when Peter Porker says, he says, it was my so-and-so. The original line was, he was electrocuted. It smelled delicious. I would love something just totally outside where they just take us on a tour of all the best cut things.
That could be the surprises, right? They might take you on cut things. Maybe not Spider-Verse, maybe, but certainly the rest of the Marvel movies, things that they never released on Blu-ray, stuff like that.
What if they did just straight up the first 5 minutes of Spider-Man Far From Home?
Oh no, I think people would be disappointed with that. That would just feel like a promo.
Like a promo for the next movie.
Which I guess it would be.
Yeah, well, it would be, but I think people are like, no, I'm going to go see Far From Home. I came here to see stuff I can't see any other way.
Regardless, here are things I know in my heart. This movie deserves to break it artistically speaking, deserves to break the Avatar record. In my lifetime, I've seen so many movies come back for second releases for the sole purpose of trying to goose their total gross numbers. This one certainly deserves it.
If I may interrupt just for a second, they do that because they know people want to see it again. It's not. Sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is a cash grab. For cash, people are willing to give them.
Right. I mean, there are people looking for an excuse to go see it a second or third time, and I'm certainly in that camp. And
me too.
So cool. Let's rock that.
Last question from me. Do you think this content shows up anywhere else, or do they need to say this is your only chance to see it?
Oh, that actually brings up a really interesting thing. Didn't they do a similar thing? Was when they did Logan Noir, which was basically just re-releasing Logan in black and white.
Right. But black and white color grading is not easy.
Sure.
There's a lot of artistic elements into.
No, I do it in Photoshop all the time, Bryce. What are you talking about? Just press a button.
Sorry, I got distracted. What was the original question?
Should this content be available on the Blu-ray or digital later, or should it be theater only?
So my point is like we're already accustomed to when a movie hits the digital phase, we're accustomed to like 5 different versions of it coming out. And even when you buy anything on Amazon, it says warning, you may already own this movie under a different version. Just make sure that you're cool with buying this version that has these particular benefits to it. Really all they're doing is bringing that experience to the big screen, right?
Mm-hmm. So does that mean they put it out on digital as a separate version? Is that what
what it means is I don't care. Yeah. It means I'm going to go watch it again and I'll watch the post-credits scenes.
I would be kind of pissed if it was theater only.
If it was exclusive to the theater?
I would be a little pissed. Because not everybody has time to go see movies in the theater, especially if you've only seen it one time or
Why do you think God invented the internet? For goodness sake, people.
Exactly.
All right, folks. Well, one of the reasons the internet was invented was so we could start Cordkillers. And the way we were able to start Cordkillers was you funded it.
Man, I'll tell you what, dude, closest thing to real magic I've experienced in my entire life was when I used to be a touring professional. I had to do 3 to 5 live shows all across the country every single year. And then all of a sudden we go independent with Cordkillers. Fun fact, You want to know what the total budget was for our previous version of this show under some network? $100. That was the whole budget, $100. That's what we got to spend. And it went to me. I had 100% of the budget. But we did it. We did it for a long time, and then we went independent, and then you guys changed our lives, because with your 1,341 beautiful, beautiful boss butts, you guys were able to get us enough money for us to make this a regular gig and get me to enjoy watching my beautiful daughters grow up. Thank you guys so very much. Every one of you beautiful bosses. Head on over to patreon.com/Cordkillers. You guys are changing lives, and don't ever feel one bit of regret about it.
Patreon.com/Cordkillers. Building strong bones for Brian's daughters.
With calcium.
Because he buys food.
Yes,
and
no, that's we all get it. We all get it.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about how to watch. Netflix is testing a pop-out player that plays your desktop video in a small floating box that stays over other windows. You can resize it and put it where you like on your screen, though apparently subtitles are not yet supported. Netflix says, yeah, we're doing that for a few people. It's a test. Netflix tries some stuff out in public, sometimes doesn't announce it. This is one of those. Meanwhile, 9to5Mac noticed the latest beta of tvOS for Apple TV has an option to play content, guess what, in a small window on the bottom right of the screen that stays above the other video. This one you can't resize and you can't move around, but it looks like the iOS picture-in-picture that you see on iPad. PIP support is available for video played only from within the TV app. So if you purchased it or rented it from Apple, then it would work. Your Apple TV channels, if you subscribe to Stars, HBO, etc., from within the TV app, then it would work. And eventually Apple TV Plus presumably would work. The feature will arrive with the new OS for Apple TV this autumn. So with these two stories coinciding this week, I thought it would be interesting for us to give our opinions on how important picture-in-picture is for you. Netflix on the desktop, you could just pull the browser window over and resize it and put it wherever you want, but it's going to have all the browser controls and stuff. On Apple TV, how often do you need to watch two things at once that are all from Apple?
Nicole, what is your primary method of consuming video content?
So this is totally related because I almost always watch Netflix on my Roku. Like I almost never watch Netflix on my computer or my iPad. So this kind of feature is kind of meaningless to me, right? But then I was thinking about it, and what do I use PIP for on my computer? The only other thing I can think of is YouTube, because YouTube has picture-in-picture. So I'm wondering if it's just a different use case of Netflix, in the sense of like, because with YouTube, the shows are typically pretty short, right? So you're playing it in the corner while you're browsing other videos. So I'm wondering if this is for like shorter form content on Netflix, perhaps. I'm not entirely sure myself.
No, if I were to guess, I think this is something that is genuinely useful to the under 17 crowd, the people who are. Now, I believe this story is about PIP on a Windows desktop, not necessarily like an iOS.
For Netflix, it is, not for the Apple TV.
Yeah, correct.
Yes.
So if you are a kid who only has one laptop, then I think this will be very useful to you. I think that if you only have the mobile device, then you're using the picture-in-picture that's baked into the iPad interface. Meanwhile, for me, I watch almost all of my content because we have a blended house of various tastes and ages and demographics. I tend to watch here in the studio, where I'm literally looking at no fewer than 4 monitors all interconnected at any one time. So to me, this does seem silly. And even to Tom, if you're watching Netflix on your primary television, then you almost certainly have both a laptop, an iPad, and a mobile device within reach. So you have 3 more screens over here. So I have to imagine that all of this is just meant to appeal to the youngest demographic watching.
The additional use case I can think of is the person at work on a single screen, who maybe they're a programmer, or I don't know, maybe they're a director of video production who's doing budgeting, but they're doing something that's a little bit rote.
A real example, my brother, one of the lead animators over at Star Citizen, he's animating Bones. He can do that while Netflix plays in the background.
And so you have that kind of to the right of your monitor and Netflix playing up in a corner. I could see people saying, "Oh, this is so much better than minimizing my browser window or making my browser window smaller because it's clean. It's clean.
Yep.
It just has my playback controls and the video, and I don't have to get rid of the toolbar and the URL bar, the address bar, all that stuff. So yeah, I could see some folks who do certain kinds of work doing this. And when I said the director of video production, I was referring to my wife who watches Netflix videos on her machine, sometimes because she has to for work, and she's like, well, I can get some other stuff done while I'm auditing this new series.
Auditing is a good way to put it, because even there's certain content that we're obligated to watch because we said we would watch, but we don't necessarily need to fully enjoy. and I'll admit that sometimes that I keep an eye on certain content just so I can understand exactly what's happening in it without necessarily giving my full attention to it.
Unbelievable.
Bryce has been floored by this revelation of yours,
My
Bryce.
mind is blown.
Also, do me a favor, Bryce, close out Hearthstone, and then let's continue.
No, because you have work to do. You got work you got to get done, right?
Or for stuff you've already seen, right?
Oh my gosh, to review.
You just want to kind of review it and see it again. Yeah.
Like,
absolutely. So
if I had Arrested Development
Netflix
in the corner.
Oh, sorry, Bryce. Go ahead.
Oh no, like if I had Arrested Development in the corner or Futurama or something,
you're not going to clear
stuff.
your whole schedule for that,
right? Or my whole screen for it. Yeah.
So I think the Netflix example of picture-in-picture makes sense because it's not necessarily what we traditionally think of as picture-in-picture. The Apple TV one, they already have the functionality in iOS. tvOS is based on iOS. It's easy enough for them to bring it over, and it's a nice little feature to tell people about. But they didn't make a big deal out of it when they announced the new tvOS stuff at WWDC, and I think that's right, because if you can't do sports is generally the television picture-in-picture thing, right? Mm-hmm. I've got two of my favorite teams playing, and I want to keep an eye on both of them. I have done this recently when the Blues were playing hockey and the Cardinals were playing baseball, and I kind of wanted to keep an eye on both games. Most apps that you use on Apple TV now have some version of that. Not all of them, but PlayStation View, for instance, I can have two games up at once. There's ways to do it within apps. I'm not sure how often I need to have an episode of a show from HBO and a movie I rented from Apple playing at the same time.
Yeah, well, certainly 2 bits of video content you don't need at the same time. But I mean, again.
Oh, Gauchum suggests maybe if you wanted to play a game on Apple TV, which some people do, and watch a video at the same time, maybe that would be a good reason.
Keep in mind, there are certain bits of video content that you get maybe 80 to 90% of your enjoyment just from the audio side of things. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I can sort of break my mind into two halves. The language part is following story and paying full attention to a story, whereas there are plenty of games that are just sort of mathematical translation. Imagine Tetris. Tetris, there's no words, no story. I could rotate blocks while giving my full attention to the story of Chernobyl or whatever. Now, I wouldn't have the visuals because I wouldn't be looking down, but I would be following everything.
Yeah. So I think we've all kind of figured out who the Netflix thing might be for. I'm not sure we cracked what the Apple TV picture-in-picture for. So if that's you're like, no, I know exactly why Apple TV picture-in-picture works perfectly for me. Please send us an email, cordkillers@gmail.com.
Especially because it's very weird that they would not make this a universal implementation, where the whole purpose of Apple TV is, it's your one place for everything. And you're like, oh, well, then let me use this one service. You're like, oh, no, that's for this content, but not this content.
My guess is the reason it's that way in the developer preview is that no app developer has implemented it. You have to implement it on iOS to make it work. So we don't know whether they're actually walling it off like you're talking about, or whether it's just something that developers can also add to their Apple TV apps, in which case that will make it a slightly more useful. You're right.
I just realized that's two great things that came from Russia, Tetris and Chernobyl.
It's great.
You mean the TV show Chernobyl?
Yes.
Great.
You're not. Never mind. Let's talk about what to watch and Under Surveillance.
It's all about location.
Under Surveillance.
Hey, there's a new Stranger Things trailer, and it's real dark, and it shows the kids doing dark, strange stuff and things, and somebody's back, and it comes out July 4th. Are you excited?
Yeah, sure. Yes. Just as excited I was as the first one. Don't know that I needed a second one. But I understand that there's a team who's told that their job is to keep making trailers. So why wouldn't you?
Oh, you mean the trailer? Okay. I was like, really? You're not okay. But we didn't need another trailer. Right.
Correct.
I got you.
Like they already had me in. The first one was amazing.
Nicole?
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, one trailer is good as the other. I mean, I know it's interesting to me. Yeah, sure. I'm into it. Like, no, if you show me like 5 trailers, I'll be into it. 6 trailers,
Thanks,
I'll be into it. 7 trailers, I'll be into it.
I mean, heck,
how about-
if we're getting crazy, at some point, show me the whole series. That'd be great too. I'll watch that.
Hey,
Great.
they can do that. Start July 4th. The FX series based on Why the Last Man, which we have followed its many twists and turns, including at one time a friend of the show, Dan Trachtenberg, was going to direct a movie, then that went away. Well, it's been in development for 2 years at FX, if you remember. The show will be called Why, and has named Eliza Clark as showrunner. She has credits on Animal Kingdom, The Killing, Extant, and Rubicon. If you know those, you might know her work. Has also written plays, like stage plays, that have played in places like New York and LA. Why was ordered to series in February, so this isn't news that it's got green light, but we now know the showrunner. Melina Moustakis is directing the pilot, and it's expected to premiere sometime next year.
I really hope this is fantastic. And it occurs to me that there's a rare opportunity here. We've watched over the last 10 to 20 years a delightful swing of a pendulum in favor of increasing celebration of female empowerment. And Why might be in a unique position to sort of coronate, like, yes, female empowerment has won. Now, like, let's celebrate or question, or what's it like to be the last man? For those who are unfamiliar, all the men on the planet just die and vanish. And this dude bro with his monkey, who's a magician, already I'm in love with him, is the last man on Earth. And of course, he has to hide that because there are many powerful factions who want him for various reasons. This could be not just a great and grand and fun, but also it has the opportunity to say some things that no other movie said. Like we've seen lots of female power punching up and achieving things. I don't know that we've seen any stories of female power has won and is the only power.
And now what do they do with it?
And what does male power look like in that? And if you write it just right, I think both males and females can find it an utterly fascinating Rorschach of a more interesting, larger cultural moment that we're all having.
Nicole.
That sounds cool. I mean, as you mentioned, like I feel like a lot of the narrative around strong women movies are very much of the kick-ass superhero genre, which is fine, which is great. But there needs to be more than that, right? There needs to be more nuance, and the fact that the women are bad and good and evil and not so good. Like, there's all this like range of different kinds of people, and I think that'll be really interesting to see like the women being treated not just as an equal, but what happens if they quote unquote rule, but also what do men look like in that scenario? Like the whole like the Amazonas kind of thing, but a little bit different, of course.
Yeah. Well, and not just that they quote unquote rule, but in the comic book world, it's quite literally the only game in town. They actually do rule.
Last man.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's some really. God, I hope it's good. I hope it's great.
Yeah. I do want Brian to get a monkey because a magician living surrounded by women.
I do have 7 acres for him to swing around in.
Bry the last man.
Oh, boom! You got it now.
Yeah. We're making this happen, folks. All right. Murder Mystery is the name of a movie starring Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston, and has set the record for most streams on an opening weekend for Netflix with 30,869,863 unique accounts watching it in the first 3 days. If you're like, wait, what counts as a view? 70%. You got to watch 70% of this movie for it to count as a view. All just under half of those views came from the United States. The majority of them were from the rest of the world.
So 3 thoughts. Number 1, I think 70% of watching the show is a fair assessment for a view. I think you pretty much maybe you got up and left the movie theater, but you still bought a ticket. I think it is weird that Netflix is bragging on numbers, and I still haven't figured out why they would do that or what that means. Also, I didn't watch the movie, but I watched the trailer, and I found myself thinking, kind of a good idea for a movie. maybe it's all right.
It's not bad. Nicole, did you happen to watch it?
No, I haven't watched it. I do say that I'm intrigued by watching it mostly because of Jennifer Aniston and not Adam Sandler, but that's just a personal preference on my part. So that's interesting, and I think we'll talk about it later about the star power that Netflix brings to the party, and it's. I wonder if this is part of it, right? Like, hey, this movie with Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston gets like this many millions of dollars. I wonder if that can be like a little bit of establishing Netflix even more in the movie space.
Yeah, I mean, if we had an average ticket price of $10, this would be a $300 million opening.
Holy cow.
Yeah, totally.
So maybe that's why Netflix is releasing the numbers, is to make those comparisons, maybe try to convince theater owners like, hey, I mean, you would never get all of the people who are watching this.
Oh, hold on. I just had a thought.
Yeah.
What is not released, what we do not know, that is probably not even discussed out in public, is how many behind-the-scenes placement deals are happening. If you are collecting a paycheck.
Do we know that Netflix does any placement deals at all?
I have to. Well, first of all, they did so much outside Netflix stuff that I would have to imagine. I would have to imagine that some of their stuff has. And if that's the case, then all of a sudden you very much want those numbers to be out there for everyone to know how many people they're going to reach.
Yeah,
I don't know about
that.
I don't know about the movies, but some TV shows definitely have placement, like Stranger Things and House of Cards.
Movies or Netflix TV shows?
Netflix TV shows, I mean.
Okay, all right.
They totally have like placement.
Yeah, because that explains a lot right there.
Yeah.
Wow, I think
would
we
report
finally
those
cracked
numbers privately, but to attract new customers for their production partners,
Yeah, I guess at some point, then everything makes sense, because that's why you would keep quiet about it for a long time, because you could appear to be above it. And then when you have the numbers to tout, you tout the numbers so that your ad sales department can make sure that, well, we've got a movie coming up and they need to get around from point A to point B. Should it be a Lyft or an Uber that they take? You guys discuss.
Let's make a couple calls and find out.
Yeah.
I did not watch all of this movie. The premise is Adam Sandler plays a cop, and his wife, Jennifer Aniston, is a mystery novel enthusiast. They meet someone who invites them to come on a private yacht for a party, and then they get sucked up into a murder. The murder happens on the boat. Everyone wonders why they were there. The lights go out, so you don't see the murder. It's like a classic Agatha Christie style murder. And it's funny. I was out assembling a barbecue grill. I took a break to come in and eat some dinner, and Eileen was watching it. I watched maybe 20 minutes of it. It was funny. And there's Adam Sandler and there's Adam Sandler. And this is the Adam Sandler that non-Adam Sandler fans generally can still appreciate and enjoy. There's also the Adam Sandler that like hardcore Adam Sandler fans like, that a lot of times other people don't. But this was not that. This was a pretty general audience comedy.
I mean, good deal. Good for them. Yeah. Man, I'm just so happy we cracked the case as to why they're bragging on numbers now. I'm certain that we're right. Cordkillers@gmail.com if you have a better theory than mine.
Finally, Amazon released a trailer for The Boys, starring Carl Urban as a CIA operative who leads a team to fight against corrupt superheroes, coming to Amazon July 26th.
Corrupt superheroes? Aren't those just
so
called...
everybody with superpowers is not good in this world. It's not a irredeemables thing where they go bad. It's not a good versus bad. It's superheroes are using their powers to enrich themselves. And this is a law enforcement agency made of humans trying to enforce the laws against superheroes.
Isn't there a word for that? Aren't those called villains?
No, because they still do good. They're just like celebrity egos.
Oh,
yeah. This is like finding corruption in an otherwise beneficial government, right?
Got it.
Yes.
Man, what are the odds, do you think, that like social media plays it? Like that's one of the got-ems that they do, is they get a video of somebody taking a bribe and taking down.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard for me to tell if this is genius or just going to be kind of silly. But it's obviously a metaphor for government corruption, right? You thought the party you loved was doing good for the world, and then you found out that it wasn't. So now the people that do these things are going to take them down, and you could project whatever party you want on the superheroes or banks, being above the law, etc., all that kind of stuff. Got some quick notes. Queer Eye renewed for season 4, set in Kansas City, debuting July 19th. Season 5 begins production next week in Philadelphia. That'll come to Netflix next year. George Clooney has been announced to direct and star in a movie adaptation of the book Good Morning Midnight for Netflix. Script was written by Mark L. Smith, who also did The Revenant. Expected sometime next year. Shooting gets underway in October. FX announced American Horror Story 1984, premiering September 18th. Season 2 of Mayans MC, September 3rd. Season 2 of Mr. In Between, coming September 12th. And the 14th season of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, coming to FXX on September 25th. And finally, Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee Season 11 premieres on Netflix July 19th with Eddie Murphy, Seth Rogen, Ricky Gervais, Matthew Broderick, Jamie Foxx, Sebastian Maniscalco, Martin Short, Mario Joyner, Melissa Villaseñor, Bridget Everett, and Barry Martyr as the guests this season.
Heck yes. Shall we take a moment to talk about what we've had our eyes on? Nicole, what have you been watching?
So, before I go into my first 2 picks, quote unquote, I want to mention something called The Chef Show on Netflix. And the reason why I want to mention it because we've been talking about Avengers a lot. And the people who do The Chef Show are Jon Favreau and his favorite chef / buddy, Roy Choi. And the reason why I mention this is because the movie is about them cooking food and going to different dining destinations with heavy guest cameos by the Avengers cast. So the first 2 episodes, you will see Robert Downey Jr., you will see Tom Holland, you will see Kevin Feige. And they're talking about like Avengers stuff. They're talking about shooting the movie, shooting movie in Atlanta. There's obviously food and talking about food and cooking and all of that stuff in there as well. But there's like 5 to 10 solid minutes of them talking, just nerding out about comics. In the middle of this like this documentary about food, like a solid like 5 minutes of just nerding out about crazy movie comic stuff. And I was just watching it, just this is interesting. I'll just watch this cooking show. Did not expect this Avengers thing at all, and it completely surprised me. So watch it just for that, I think. It's an interesting little Easter egg in this cooking show.
Cool.
So it's really interesting. So that's that. The other thing I want to mention, it's a couple of reality show things. One is Savage Builds, Adam Savage's new thing on this Discovery Channel, and it's him building crazy things of like, can I build this? Like the first episode was like him building an Iron Man suit, like an actual real functional Iron Man suit that can fly and everything. It's very typical Adam Savage Mythbusters style stuff. If you were a fan of Mythbusters, you kind of miss it, you kind of miss the Adam Savage Mythbusters thing. This totally hits all those same notes, and I think you'll totally love it. And the other show, it's kind of a reality mainstream show, but I really like it. It's something called Songland, and it's about different songwriters competing to write the next big hit for like big artists, like John Legend or all these really big artists, like. And to me it's really interesting because first of all it's original songs, like they wrote them themselves, but not just that, but they sing the song in front of these like this panel of veteran songwriters and the artists, and you get to see the creative process of how like, oh, that's a good beat, but what if you add a bass track to it? What if you add a little bit of a chorus to it? What if you made this higher or lower? What if you repeat this verse instead of making it 3 times instead of 4 times? And you get to see the behind the scenes of the creative process. And there's something about those kinds of shows in reality, the genre anyway, that really makes me really very interested in the whole like songwriting process, which is something I'm not really familiar with. But the fact that this show gives like a little bit of a peek of like, oh, so this is how songs get made. Like, it's not just one person. It's just like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people making this quote unquote hit song. And I think it's a really interesting behind the scenes look of a creative process.
Dude, that's awesome. So, yeah. Tom, what about you? What have you been watching?
Oh, not much. Toy Story 4 we'll talk about in Spoilerin time. And I keep talking about Arthdal Chronicles. We get 2 new episodes of that every week, and it's been great. Really enjoying it. We got back into a show called Princess Agents, which is a Chinese sort of period piece intrigue, spy in the castle kind of show. They've all been good. What about you, Brian?
Dude, I am here to spread the good word of Defunct Land. Have you watched any of those, Tom? Have you seen any of these?
Nope.
So Defunct Land, it began as a series just about exhibits and theme parks that are no longer with us and telling us the bizarre story of them. For example, there are dozens of creepy abandoned Santa villages all across the country. Why are they there? He breaks it down and explains it all to you. There's Disney exhibits that lasted. He talks about the shortest lived Disney exhibits of all time and why they died, the lowest rated Disney exhibits of all time. He gives the story of up in, I want to say, is it Vermont or Massachusetts? Action Park is a notorious park where dozens of people died, and they explain all of the factors that made this place a death trap. He tells the story of Astro World, Six Flags in Houston, and why it's torn down and one of the few parks ever to be totally demolished. It is fascinating, but if you're going to watch anything, they're now doing a series, a miniseries called Defunct TV, and there's a 4-part miniseries all about Jim Henson, starting with his early work, explaining how he got the gig at The Muppet Show, explaining how he rolled that into Fraggle Rock, and then finally talking about what he really wanted to do, stuff like The Dark Crystal, and how trapped he felt in doing children's programming. It is exquisite. It is a wonderful rabbit hole. It's all for free on YouTube. Highly recommend you guys support and watch it.
Excellent. All right, Bryce, what should we be on the lookout for?
Hey guys, we got an email a while back from Thomas. Thomas writes, "Hello, Tom, Brian, Bryce, and Schrodinger's guest." That's Nicole today. "I just wanted to send in a recommendation for On the Lookout. I just watched Dallas and Robo, a YouTube original. This animated show stars Kat Dennings and John Cena as a team of space truckers, and it's made by Shadow Machine, the same people who make BoJack Horseman and Robot Chicken. The show is definitely in the vein of BoJack with a lot of crude humor and silly premises, but is really funny and has a certain heart to it. There are only 8 episodes, which are just over 20 minutes each, so it is a really fast binge, and the first episode is free, while the rest are on YouTube Premium. Really enjoying the show. Wanted to tell you guys to keep up the great work. Thomas from Missouri." Thanks, Thomas. Yeah, there are 8 episodes of Dallas and Robo streaming on YouTube Premium now. I got to watch about a half of the first episode, but it's very much that like Adult Swim, adult animation type of humor.
Excellent. I like space truckers. That sounds good. I might check this out. If you got something we should be on the lookout for, email us cordkillers@gmail.com. Brian, I should probably not tell you this.
Oh, no. Okay, look, I don't want to get you in trouble, but I love hearing about your products and all the things that you're doing. Look, I don't care if it does piss off our
these are classified
1,347
files. I'm not even sure how I have them,
okay,
other than
look,
creating them.
Just whisper it to me. Then nobody will bust us.
There's a secret country that runs the world.
Yes, it's us. Go ahead.
No. It's a secret country, and there was recently a woman who made her way into the country and with an FBI agent, and the files have been locked. They've been classified, but I have been able to get a hold of some of them, and I've been leaking them out on my writing Patreon.
Oh, wait a minute. What a brilliant way. Nobody would suspect that a science fiction author who does a bunch of podcasting would actually be leaking important government secrets.
Exactly. They'll think it's just fiction, right? Nobody will look there. Nobody will take it seriously.
Brilliant.
Right?
You did change the names, right?
Oh, of course not.
Oh, no. Oh, look. So what you're saying is, like, if you want the real sauce, you better head on over to freetomnewsletter.com right now. So that you
freetomnewsletter.com will keep you up to date on every file as it is released. Of course, you can also go right to the source, patreon.com/acedetect, if you can figure out how to spell ace detect as well. But yeah, freetomnewsletter.com has been keeping people up to date. And I don't know, there's 30 or 40 people in there in the know. You might want to join them. That's all I'm saying.
You're so circuitous. I love it.
Just saying, freetomnewsletter.com. All right, let's move on to the front lines.
Front lines.
Netflix released its latest rundown of the TVs it thinks are best for watching Netflix, not because of picture quality, but because of the app experience. It's been doing this since 2015. To make the list, a TV must meet 5 of 7 criteria, including instant on, fast launching of the Netflix app, having a Netflix button on the remote, easy Netflix icon access in the app screen, always having the latest version of Netflix with the latest shows automatically refreshed in the background, high-res interface, all that kind of stuff. And this time. Netflix is recommending the Samsung Q series, the RU8000, the Seraph, and the Frame devices. Sony Bravia X85G and X90G, as well as the A9G and Panasonic Viera GX series of televisions. So if you're looking for a new television and Netflix is the thing you have to have on your smart TV, those are apparently the ones Netflix thinks are the awesomest.
Dude, only Netflix could legit get away with this kind of thing. Imagine I release the best televisions to watch the modern Rogue on. They have a modern Rogue button on the remote. They have this and that. But Netflix is legitimately the reason one of the criteria people will have for buying a TV.
Yeah, it's that widespread, right? It's that popular. Oh, I want a TV with a modern Rogue button on it.
All right, maybe someday I'll make that happen. Hulu CEO Randy Freer told CNBC that Hulu's investment in original programming will increase significantly, says this will be because of, quote, the capacity inside of the Walt Disney Company. Nicole,
in other words, Disney can make it rain.
Yeah, Nicole, is that all it is? Is like, we got money now?
Yeah, pretty much, right, Nicole? I mean, are we wrong?
That's good. I mean, yeah, money will make a lot of things happen for sure.
Yeah, so I expect to see spending on original content ramp up at Hulu. I mean, they have some hits right now, right? Catch-22 seems to have done well for them. Obviously, Handmaid's Tale. If they had a little more money to spend, I'm sure they might have a few more of those. Deadline says James Marsden may get cast as Stu Redman in the 9-episode miniseries based on Stephen King's The Stand that's being created for CBS All Access. And Amber Heard is possibly getting cast as Nadine Cross.
So I went back, last time I had read The Stand was in high school. I think I was 15 at the time. I just did the whole book because they have a decent audiobook version of it. Just last month, I re-experienced the whole thing. I think that's a fine casting. I think that'll be really good. And I think The Stand deserves a good video adaptation of it. I'm excited for it.
Nicole, do you have any experience with Stephen King's The Stand? Is something you ever read or not?
No, I'm not familiar with it, but this sounds like a good thing, and it's another show for CBS All Access. Importantly, right?
Yeah,
that adds a little bit. As one more show to that network.
Yeah, James Marsden, guy from Westworld, plays the cowboy in Westworld. I think he's a great casting choice for Stu Redman. Amber Heard as Nadine Cross seems good to me too. Maybe they can get Johnny Depp to play Randall Flagg then.
Oh my God, that would be great. Fubo TV keeps adding content, and it's not all sports. The streaming service has a deal with Discovery Networks to add 13 more networks to the 5 that it already carries. Discovery Channel, TLC, Investigation Discovery, Animal Planet, OWN, Oprah Winfrey Network, and Motor Trend will come with the base package. Additional networks will be available in the add-on extra package.
Yeah, Fubo keeps ramping it up. So and Discovery too. Actually, they keep adding their channels to a lot of services. So it's kind of a match made in heaven.
I'll tell you what, we're sort of entering this age where increasingly, you could get a lot of stuff a lot of different places, but which tribe do you most identify as part of? In an age where well, I don't know. We'll talk about this more in maybe after talk for the patrons out there. I have thoughts about this though.
For the discerning patron. And Quippy, of course, is the short form video service that is launching next year, has already sold $100 million in ads to 6 advertisers ahead of its April 2020 launch. Apparently, that's all down to Meg Whitman just going in and striking deals. That's about 2/3 of the expected inventory. And interestingly, Quibi is not looking for ads from telecoms. It wants to strike an exclusive distribution deal with one of them instead. For anybody not getting some beneficial distribution deal from their telecom carrier, Quibi will cost $5 a month with ads and $8 a month without.
Yeah, I don't know entirely what to make of any of that because we were highly suspicious of the very ad model for Quibi, but too
honestly,
soon to call.
It means they've got very good sales job from Meg Whitman on down. Advertisers are willing to take a gamble on it because it sounds good. It's kids with their phones watching videos. We're in.
Yeah, all of this feels very vessel-y. I'm feeling a lot of Vessel vibes.
A Vessel. It feels like a 2020 version of Vessel to me. It really does. I could be totally wrong.
I'm getting them Vessel vibes. Vessel vibes. That should be the name of the episode.
It just sounds like a terrible thing. I don't know why it does. I can't tell you the exact reasoning. I just have like bad bad juju. I feel some bad juju.
I believe it.
This whole thing.
Well, we want to hear what you guys think. So why don't you write us a letter at cordkillers@gmail.com while we check them on a little segment we like to call Dispatches from the Front.
Rick Hartnett says, guys, I'm back in management. That's right. I'm your boss again. Well, thank you, boss Rick. A few months back, I canceled my Patreon account as Cordkillers had moved from the techie geeky stuff I liked to more movie and TV reviews. I thought I wouldn't be listening. But even though it's not the Cordkillers of the early days, I'm still listening. And if I'm listening, I should be willing to cough up $1 for the show. Hope everyone else does too. Thank you, Rick.
Man,
that's awesome.
This made my day because I don't know that we've made a moment of talking about it on the show, but Rick picked up on our behind the scenes decision as we realized the novelty of cutting the cord is going to diminish and go away. And if we want to stay relevant, we need to increasingly focus on the content and not the methods. And I'm thrilled that he noticed enough and cared enough to pull his support. And then I'm thrilled that he realized that what we're doing is still good enough that it merited more support. So thank you very much, Boss Rick.
Yeah, man. I mean, just to explain, you used to have to do a lot of technology to cut the cord. You had to find different streaming services. You had to find different devices. You couldn't just have one device. All that stuff has gotten so simple, for most people. Yeah, there's still home run TV. There's still the NVIDIA Shield and stuff out there. It's not all gone away, but for most people, it's just picking up a box or even a smart TV that has it built in. So as we've just followed the market, we've focused more on, well, what can you watch?
Oh, but there is so much plenty geeky stuff for us to talk about. For example, user interfaces. Josh writes in with a photograph saying, "Hey team, here's the latest screenshot from my TV app on my iPad where there is not a peep of the current shows I'm watching, but instead a push from all the premium channels Apple wants me to watch. This now looks like the Fire TV, a hot mess of an interface. This is so unusable and a departure from how good the old app was before the channels launched. Now the push to make you pay for more channels is on. Any alternative recommendations now that both Fire TV and Apple TV are ruined by the ad pushes?" Oh man, I don't know.
This is not my experience at all, by the way.
And for the audio listeners, the screenshot that he has is he says this is the default page and it says watch now. And it is an entire line of free series premieres and then an entire line of new and noteworthy. It really is like none of his favorites that's on there.
Again, not my experience at all. My Apple TV experience hasn't changed a bit. I turn on the Apple TV, across the top are all my shows. And I'm like, oh, there's a new Bob's Burgers. Oh, there's a new Chernobyl or whatever, right? I go up there, I click it, and I watch it. He went into the TV app, and instead of seeing the watch now, he saw that page, apparently. I don't know what page that is or how you get to it. Maybe it's the first one when you open the TV app, but unless I'm looking for recommendations, I never open the TV app. And you don't need to because there's the ribbon across the top with all your stuff.
But it's important to note this is his iPad. This is the iPad OS.
Which may have a different interface experience.
And it could be
not Apple TV. So that's entirely different. All right. Let me open up my Apple TV app right now.
Because it could be.
And see if I get that same horrible screen that he's talking about.
It could be that you haven't linked your subscription.
I don't. No, okay. I get Watch Now and then Up Next. I think he had a bug. Because the first thing on my iPad right now is Up Next, Euphoria and Princess Agents. There they are.
It could be if he hasn't done it yet, you usually on the device have to say, you can use my media apps to populate this thing. And so I would say
maybe he has to go in and do something. Yeah.
Because usually the first
time,
but he says he's used it before. So I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's interesting.
I don't know. Hello, fellow cord swingers. Your loyal boss, Corey K, writes, I was checking into Godzilla King of the Monsters last night with my AMC A-Stubs app when a thought passed through my mind. Is the reason movie revenue appears to be down this summer because of all the subscription services? I pay $22 a month for 3 movies a week. How do they track that revenue-wise when I am not paying for a ticket to a particular movie? Could this be the reason for low numbers? I would like to hear thoughts.
I believe the answer is no, because if A-List is anything like Movie Pass and Cinemia, then every time you go see a movie, they're literally paying full price.
But it's not. AMC is paying itself full price, but I'm guessing they have to still give the movie theater the same cut
which
So
is the majority of the ticket.
So that probably the way they account it is just like any other sale, even though AMC is getting less of that cut of the sale per ticket.
Right. I agree. I think we're too early in this space for anyone to try to get creative in their numbers and
I don't think
risk
that's
pissing off the
what's going on.
studios.
But if anybody who works in the theater industry knows different, let us know. Cordkillers@gmail.com. Thank you, Nicole Lee, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
If folks want to find out what you've got going on, where should they go?
They can just go to twitter.com/Nicole.
Excellent. You can find all of her commentary and good works at Engadget and all kinds of stuff there. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We're live on twitch.tv/Night Attack, which is also carried on diamondclub.tv. Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We'll swing our cord around your way next week.
Hey guys, Brian and Tom here, and it's just the same old message at the end of the credits, just like always.
That's right, Brian. Nothing new here except your name showing up.
Oh my gosh,
because
I've got a
you
name.
just supported us on Patreon.
Yeah, all those $5 donors, look at that. That's your name in pixels. We're gonna make you famous, kid. Put your
There's
name in
some
pixels on
classic
the internet.
names in there, but some of you are new. Some of you aren't there. It's sad. What can they do, Brian?
I mean, they could go to patreon.com/cordkillers and pledge $5 an episode and be one of these amazing people, like this one.
Amazing.
Oh, look at that name right there.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.